Chapter 14 of Book 2 of Posterior Analytics by Aristotle, translated by Octavius Owen. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Jeffrey Edwards. Chapter 14 Rules for Problems. Now, that we may have problems, we must select sections and divisions, and thus select the common genus of all being supposed, as for example, if animals were the subjects of consideration, we must first consider what kind of things are present with every animal. When these have been taken, we must again see what kind of things are consequent to every first individual of the rest. Thus, if this is a bird, what things follow every bird, and so always that which is nearest. For we shall evidently now be able to say why things are present, which are consequent to those under what is common, as why they are present with man or horse. Let then animal be A. B. Things consequent to every animal. C, D, E, certain animals. Why then B is present with D is evident, for it is present through A. In a similar manner with the rest, and in others there is always the same reasoning. Example 1. Every animal is sentient. Every horse is an animal. Therefore, every horse is sentient. Now then, we speak according to presented common names, but we must not only consider in these, but also assume if anything else should be seen to be common. Afterwards, consider to what things this is consequent, and the quality of the things consequent to this, as those consequent to having horns are the possession of a rough muscular lining to the stomach, and the not having teeth in both jaws. Moreover, to what things the possession of horns is consequent, for it will be evident why what has been mentioned is present with them, for it will be so in consequence of their possessing horns. There is yet another mode of selection by analogy, since it is impossible to assume one and the same thing, which it is necessary to call sepium, spine, and bone. There are also things consequent to these, as if there were one certain nature of this kind. Chapter 15 of Identical Problems. Some problems are the same from having the same medium, for instance, because all things are an antiperistasis. But of these, some are the same in genus, which have differences from belonging to other things, or from subsisting differently, e.g., why is there an echo, or why is there a reflection, and why a rainbow? For all these are the same problem in genus, for all are reflection, but they differ in species. Other problems differ from the medium being contained under another medium, as why does the Nile have a greater flow during the fall of the month? Because the fall of the month is more winterly. But why is the fall more winterly? Because the moon fails, for thus do these subsist towards each other. Chapter 16 of Causes and Effects. Some one may perhaps doubt concerning cause, and that of which it is the cause, whether, when the effect is inherent, the cause also is inherent, as if the leaves fall from a tree, or there is an eclipse, will there also be the cause of the eclipse, or of the fall of the leaves? As if the cause of this is the having broad leaves, but of an eclipse the interposition of the earth. For if this be not so, something else will be the cause of these, and if the cause is present, at the same time the effect will be. Thus if the earth be interposed, there is an eclipse, or if a tree have broad leaves, it sheds them. But if this be so, they would be simultaneous and demonstrated through each other, for let the leaves to fall be A, the having broad leaves B, and a vine C. If then A is present with B, for whatever has broad leaves sheds them, but B is present with C, for every vine has broad leaves, A is present with C, and every vine sheds its leaves, but the cause is B, the middle. Example 1. Whatever consists of broad leaves sheds its leaves. Every vine consists of broad leaves. Therefore, every vine sheds its leaves. We may also show that the vine has broad leaves from its shedding them, for if D be what has broad leaves, E to shed the leaf, F a vine, E then is present with F, for every vine sheds its leaf, but D with E, for everything which sheds its leaf has broad leaves. Every vine then has broad leaves, the cause is its shedding them. Example 2. Whatever sheds its leaves has broad leaves. Every vine sheds its leaves. Therefore, every vine has broad leaves. Nevertheless, if they cannot be the cause of each other, since cause is prior to that of which it is the cause of an eclipse indeed is the interposition of the earth, but an eclipse is not the cause of the earth interposing. If then the demonstration by cause shows why a thing is, but that which is not through cause, that it is, one knows indeed that the earth is interposed, but why it is he does not know. Yet that an eclipse is not the cause of the interposition, but this of an eclipse, is plain, since in the definition of an eclipse the interposition of the earth is inherent, so that evidently that is known through this, but not this through that. Or may there be many causes of one thing? For if the same thing may be predicated of many primary, let A be present with B, a first, and with C, another first, and these with D, E. A then will be present with D, E, but the cause why it is with D will be B, and C the cause why it is with E. Hence, from the existence of the cause, there is necessarily the existence of the thing, but when the thing exists, it is not necessary that every cause should exist. Still some cause indeed, yet not every cause. Or if the problem is always universal, is the cause also a certain whole, and that of which it is the cause universal? As to shed the leaf is present definitely with a certain whole, though there should be species of it, and with these universally, i.e. either with plants or with such plants. Hence in these, the medium, and that of which it is the cause must be equal and reciprocate. For instance, why do the trees shed their leaves? If indeed, through the concretion of moisture, whether the tree casts its leaf, there must of necessity be concretion, or whether there is concretion, not in anything indiscriminately, but in a tree, the latter must necessarily shed its leaf. Chapter 17. Extension of the same subject. Whether, however, may there not be possibly the same cause of the same thing in all things, but a different one, or is this impossible? Or shall we say it cannot happen if it is demonstrated per se, and not by a sign or accident? For the middle is the definition of the extreme, But if it is not thus, shall we say that it is possible? We may however consider that of which and to which it is the cause by accident. Still they do not appear to be problems, but if not, the medium will subsist similarly. If indeed they are equivocal, the medium will be equivocal, if however as in genus, the medium will be similar. For instance, why is there alternate proportion? For there is a different cause in lines, and in numbers, and the same medium so far as they are lines is different, but so far as it has an increase of the same kind, it is the same. The like also occurs in all things. There is indeed a different cause in a different subject, why colour is similar to colour, and figure to figure, for the similar in these is equivocal, for here perhaps it is to have the sides analogous, and the angles equal, but in colours it consists in there being one sense of their perception, or something else of the kind. Things however analogically the same will have also the same medium by analogy, and this is so from cause, and that of which and to which it is the cause following each other, but by assuming each singly, that of which it is the cause is more widely extended, as for the external angles to be equal to 4 is of wider extension than triangle or square, but equal in all, for whatever have external angles equal to 4 right, will also have the medium similarly. The medium however is the definition of the first extreme, wherefore all sciences are produced by definition. Thus to shed the leaf is at the same time consequent to the vine, and exceeds, and to the fig tree, and exceeds, yet does not exceed all plants, but is equal to them. If then you take the first middle, it is the definition of shedding the leaf, for the first will be the middle of one of them, because all are such. Next the middle of this is, that sap is congealed, or something else of the sort. But what is it to shed the leaf? It is for the sap to be congealed at the junction of the seed. In figures, to those who investigate the consequence of the cause, and of what it is the cause, we may explain the matter thus. Let A be present with every B, and B with every D, but more extensively. B then will be universal to D. I call that universal which does not reciprocate, but that the first universal with which each singular does not reciprocate, but all together reciprocate, and are of similar extension. B then is the cause why A is present with D, wherefore it is necessary that A should be more widely extended than B, for if not, why will this be rather the cause than that? If then A is present with all those of E, all those will be some one thing different from B, for if not, how will it be possible to say that A is present with everything with which E is, but E not with everything with which A is? For why will there not be a certain cause, as there is why A is present with all D? Wherefore will all those of E be one thing? We must consider this, and let there be C. Hence there may be many causes of the same thing, but not to the same in species. For instance, the cause why quadrupeds are long-lived is their not having bile, but why birds live long, their being of a dry complexion, or something else. If however they do not arrive immediately at an individual, and there is not one medium only, but many, the causes are also many. Example 1. Whatever is without bile is long-lived. Every quadruped is without bile. Therefore, every quadruped is long-lived. Every animal of a dry complexion is long-lived. Every bird is an animal of a dry complexion. Therefore, every bird is long-lived. Chapter 18. Observation upon cause to singulars. Which of the media is the cause to singulars, whether that which belongs to the first universal, or that to the singular? Evidently the nearest to the singular, to which it is the cause. For this is the cause why the first, under the universal, is inherent. C is the cause that B is inherent in D. Hence C is the cause why A is inherent in D. But B is the cause why it is in C. Yet to this itself is the cause. Example 1. Whatever is without bile is long-lived. Every quadruped is without bile. Therefore, every quadruped is long-lived. But every horse is a quadruped. Therefore, every horse is long-lived. Chapter 19. Upon the method and habit necessary to the ascertainment of principles. Concerning syllogism then and demonstration, what either of them is, and how it is produced is clear, and at the same time about demonstrative science, for it is the same. But about principles, how they become known, and what is the habit which recognizes them, is manifest, hence to those who have previously doubted it. That it is then impossible to have scientific knowledge through demonstration, without a knowledge of first immediate principles, has been elucidated before. Still, some one may doubt the knowledge of immediate principles, both whether it is the same or not the same, also whether there is a science of each or not, or a science of one, but a different kind of science of another, and whether non-inherent habits are ingenerated, or when inherent are latent. If then, indeed, we possess them, it is absurd, for it happens that it, the principle, escapes those who have a more accurate knowledge than demonstration. But if not having them before, we acquire them, how can we know and learn without pre-existent knowledge? For this is impossible, as we said also in the case of demonstration. It is evident then, that they can neither be possessed nor ingenerated in the ignorant, and in those who have no habit. Wherefore it is necessary to possess a certain power, yet not such an one as shall be more excellent according to accuracy than these. Now this appears inherent in all animals, for they have an innate power, which they call sensible perception, but sense being inherent in some animals, a permanency of the sensible object is engendered, but in others it is not engendered. Those therefore, wherein the sensible object does not remain, either altogether, or about those things which do not remain, such have no knowledge without sensible perception, but others, when they perceive, retain one certain thing in the soul. Now, since there are many of this kind, a certain difference exists, so that with some, reason is produced from the permanency of such things, but in others it is not. From sense therefore, as we say, memory is produced, but from repeated remembrance of the same thing, we get experience, for many remembrances in number constitute one experience. From experience, however, or from every universal being at rest in the soul, that one besides the many, which in all of them is one and the same, the principle of art and science arises, if indeed it is conversant with generation, of art, but if with being, of science. Neither therefore are definite habits inherent, nor are they produced from other habits more known, but from sensible perception, as when a flight occurs in battle, if one soldier makes a stand, another stands, and then another, until the fight is restored. But the soul has such a state of being as enables it to suffer this. What, however, we have before said, but not clearly, let us again explain. When one thing without difference abides, there is then first universal in the soul. For the singular indeed is perceived by sense, but sense is of the universal, as of man, but not of the man Callias. Again, in these it stops till individuals and universals stop, as such a kind of animal until animal, and in this again it stops, after a similar manner. It is manifest then, that primary things become necessarily known to us by induction, for thus sensible perception produces the universal. But since of those habits which are about intellect, by which we ascertain truth, some are always true, but others admit the false, as opinion and reasoning, but science and intellect are always true, and no other kind of knowledge except intellect is more accurate than science, but the principles of demonstrations are more known, and all science is connected with reason, there could not be a science of principles, but since nothing can be more true than science except intellect, intellect will belong to principles, and to those who consider from these it is evident also, that as demonstration is not the principle of demonstration, so neither is science the principle of science. If then we have no other true genus of habit besides science, intellect will be the principle of science. It will also be the principle of the knowledge of the principle, but all this subsists similarly with respect to everything. End of Book 2, and end of Posterior Analytics by Aristotle, translated by Octavius Owen, coordinated by Avaí, proof listened by Guero, recording in memory of Mitchell Edwards.